The world seemed to pause as King Charles and Prince William, two figures bearing the quiet gravity of duty, finally addressed the public. Yet this was no formal announcement or ceremonial message, but a rare moment of emotional transparency, hinting at the fragile reality surrounding Princess Catherine, a reality long shielded from view by layers of tradition and restraint. For months, questions lingered about what truly unfolded beyond the guarded walls of Kensington Palace, where silence spoke louder than any official statement. Why did William appear to defy every unspoken rule, choosing words that felt less like tradition and more like open confrontation with the very system that shaped him? Today, we draw back the veil to trace the unsettling sequence surrounding Catherine's gradual withdrawal from public view and the fractures that quietly formed within the palace itself. This is not merely a narrative about physical well-being, but a deeper reflection on influence, inner tension, and how Catherine's composed resolve subtly altered the direction of an ancient institution. Stay with us until the end. Subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments as we explore a chapter of royal history rarely brought into the light. William left no room for interpretation when he addressed the issue in a charged internal discussion. There would be no substitutes, no interim figures, no choreographed gestures designed to occupy Eleanor's place. She remains, he stated firmly, his tone carrying unmistakable resolve, and she will not be written out. It was not merely a refusal, but a line he deliberately drew, a quiet yet unbreakable safeguard meant to honor the person he stood beside, and to preserve the presence of someone who had already redefined the spirit and meaning of the institution for a generation. Yet even William's resolve could not fully contain the undercurrent of doubt moving through the corridors. What had long appeared as a single, cohesive structure was quietly showing its fractures. Subtle alignments began to form, some holding tightly to inherited customs, others focused on preserving an image of calm, and a smaller circle choosing to anchor themselves in Eleanor's dignity as a human being first. The equilibrium that had once been meticulously maintained now felt unstable, subtly rebalancing with each private discussion held beyond public view. Amid the growing disorder, confidence quietly eroded first. Conversations became guarded, glances more measured. Partial answers, careful wording, and subtle tests of loyalty began to surface in spaces once defined by trust. Even those acting with sincerity felt unsettled, uncertain where truth ended and positioning began, unsure which path aligned with integrity. At the same time, beyond the gates, people continued their gestures of hope, lighting candles, offering thoughts of healing, sending messages filled with goodwill, unaware that within the historic walls, an unspoken contest of influence was already unfolding, silent, yet deeply consequential. And then, just as that delicate sense of hope seemed close to slipping away, Eleanor's voice was heard once more. Many had quietly prepared themselves for difficult news. Instead, what emerged was a moment both surprising and profoundly uplifting. She reappeared not as an emblem of tradition, but as a woman marked by endurance and inner strength. Her condition had shown genuine signs of progress. It was not an ending, nor a final triumph, but it was the glimmer of reassurance so many had been holding on to. A second message followed. Like the first, it was brief and free of ceremony or ornament. Yet this time, despite the visible change in her appearance, there was a steady, unmistakable calm in her expression. She spoke with simple sincerity, offering thanks to those who had stood with her, saying she felt the weight of every kind thought and quiet hope sent her way. Then she shared words few had allowed themselves to expect. Her condition had begun to stabilize, showing signs of improvement. She did not frame it as triumph or resolution, only as endurance, a fragile but meaningful moment of continuing forward. Her smile was gentle, yet it reflected a clear awareness of how uncertain the path forward still was. Specialists acknowledged that progress offered encouragement, but not certainty. It was a break in the clouds rather than the end of the storm. That careful distinction quickly shaped every choice made behind the scenes. Alistair, reassured but resolute, remained firmly protective. He made it clear that Eleanor would not resume public responsibilities in the near future, not yet, and perhaps not for a considerable time to come. Any future presence would be minimal and guided solely by her own comfort and well-being. He made it clear that she would not be drawn back into the relentless rhythm of ceremony and expectation. She had already given more than enough, and this chapter required restoration on her own terms. Her re-entry into public view came through modest, careful moments. A discreet visit to a hospital room, a quiet conversation with a group devoted to children's care. There were no cameras, no prepared remarks, only a calm, sincere presence that spoke more powerfully than any formal address ever could. The moment that finally dissolved, the quiet came when she was seen softly guiding her children across a school courtyard, their hands linked in an unguarded instant of normal life. There was no announcement, no formal setting, no gathering of cameras. A fellow parent captured the scene with care and shared it thoughtfully. The image traveled quickly, not for its appearance, but for the meaning it carried. Eleanor was there again, not restored to perfection, not framed by ceremony or brilliance, but present in the most real sense. A mother who had endured uncertainty and strain, still steady enough to move forward, step by step, alongside the people who mattered most. That image touched so many because it showed not a title, but a person resilient even within vulnerability. And yet, quiet uncertainties never vanish completely. In private conversations, an unvoiced thought continued to hover. What if the hardship returned? And how would an institution rooted in permanence face a future that could shift in an instant? What became undeniable was, the journey had altered everything. Eleanor did more than endure. She redefined the emotional core of the royal family itself. What first emerged as a moment of uncertainty had transformed into a turning point. The royal family was no longer viewed as untouchable figures, but as people shaped by the same trials as everyone else. Her vulnerability evolved into a quiet source of power, and her journey, now shared and upheld by countless voices, was clearly unfinished. The care surrounding Eleanor reached across borders, not rooted in sympathy, but in sincere understanding and collective respect. She revealed what no one in her position had openly shown before: genuine struggle, unanswered questions, and the strength to remain standing in between. That honesty shifted how people perceived her, stripping away distance and formality. She was no longer a figure defined by polished images and tradition, but a person bearing the same vulnerability and the same quiet resilience found in every human life. Within that honesty, Eleanor grew beyond anything ceremony could assign her. She became a quiet mirror for all who have ever lived with fear close to the heart, for families who counted hours beside hospital lights, for parents who met uncertainty each morning and still chose hope. The causes she had long supported, from children's well-being to emotional resilience, gained deeper meaning not through position, but through experience lived and understood. The personal letters she wrote to families walking similar paths, the visits made without notice, the gentle reassurance offered far from cameras, together they shaped a different kind of narrative. It was no longer about fulfilling expectation, but about transforming hardship into empathy. What emerged was not an act, but intention, care given without audience, meaning carried without display. And still, beneath that resolve, there were unseen moments of quiet ache, moments never shared, where tenderness remained, resting silently beneath her strength. In her most fragile moments, Eleanor was believed to have written personal notes to each of her 3 children, messages never meant for public eyes. They were sealed with care, intended only for a future she hoped would never arrive. A quiet expression of a mother's instinct to safeguard even in uncertainty. Though never formally acknowledged, the suggestion alone was enough to stir deep emotion across the nation. What she endured was not an abstract trial, but a path marked by apprehension, endurance, and unwavering resolve. She met it with calm resolve, though never without sacrifice. And in doing so, Eleanor came to be regarded as more than a figure destined for ceremony. She emerged as the emotional anchor of the royal household, not through authority, but through sincerity. An institution long defined by restraint and distance was quietly transformed by her presence. Where her voice once followed inherited patterns, it now carried a different force altogether, the steady, unembellished strength of truth. It became a quiet reminder that while silence can shelter, there are moments when honesty is the only path toward restoration. From within, the institution began to adjust its foundations unchanged, yet its inner pulse undeniably altered. A woman who had once stood at the edge of uncertainty returned not only alive, but renewed with purpose. In her wake, the family was compelled to reflect not in self-defense, but in growth, learning to move ahead with greater openness and understanding. And her path, still unfolding, has yet to reach its final chapter. What the nation ultimately came to realize is this: Eleanor's return was not merely a recovery, but a redefinition shaped by courage. In facing uncertainty with honesty, she altered the emotional course of an institution long thought immovable. She did more than endure, she renewed its inner purpose. Through openness, she uncovered a deeper resilience, compelling the palace to face what it had long avoided: the truth that even the strongest traditions are shaped, tested, and strengthened by human vulnerability. Her reappearance was more than a positive update. It marked a defining shift in how the royal family relates to the world beyond palace walls. In your view, how might Princess Catherine's sincerity influence the future of the British monarchy in the years ahead? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming deep dive stories. Thank you for watching. The world seemed to pause as King Charles and Prince William, 2 figures bearing the quiet gravity of duty, finally addressed the public. Yet this was no formal announcement or ceremonial message, but a rare moment of emotional transparency, hinting at the fragile reality surrounding Princess Catherine, a reality long shielded from view by layers of tradition and restraint. For months, questions lingered about what truly unfolded beyond the guarded walls of Kensington Palace, where silence spoke louder than any official statement. Why did William appear to defy every unspoken rule, choosing words that felt less like tradition and more like open confrontation with the very system that shaped him? Today, we draw back the veil to trace the unsettling sequence surrounding Catherine's gradual withdrawal from public view and the fractures that quietly formed within the palace itself. This is not merely a narrative about physical well-being, but a deeper reflection on influence, inner tension, and how Catherine's composed resolve subtly altered the direction of an ancient institution. Stay with us until the end. Subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments as we explore a chapter of royal history rarely brought into the light. Some aligned with Charles, convinced that openness would foster trust, while others feared the repercussions of stepping beyond long-standing customs. Still, one truth was impossible to ignore: the tone within the palace was no longer the same. In the days that followed, an unforeseen shift took place. William, who had carried quiet differences with his father for years, began to see him through a new lens. Bound by shared worry and mutual care, the emotional space between father and son gradually softened, allowing understanding to replace distance where division once stood. For the first time in a long while, Their relationship moved beyond titles and hierarchy. They stood together as equals, united by purpose. Side by side, they worked on a statement of great significance, not as representatives of an institution, but as two individuals seeking to safeguard someone deeply cherished. Early discussions carried traces of strain, yet over time they settled into a shared resolve, with each phrase and every detail considered thoughtfully to preserve balance, truth, and intention. They practiced the statement in private not to achieve polished performance, but because they knew each phrase held consequence and would influence how people perceived the moment. The narrative surrounding Catherine was no longer shaped by careful limitation, but by transparency and consideration. Yet this shift did not go unnoticed within the royal circle. Figures who had long guided decisions felt a growing unease, aware that familiar boundaries were being tested and that influence was subtly realigning in directions beyond their former reach. They worried that altering course would establish a new standard, that greater openness would loosen the structure they had always relied on to maintain order. Above all, there was concern that the image shaped across generations might begin to fracture. Yet reality had reached a point where it could no longer be confined to private spaces. Matters became even more complex, as it emerged that Catherine had displayed signs of deep fatigue well before this chapter unfolded. Quiet, recurring indications often concealed beneath a relentless schedule, and the heavy expectations she consistently shouldered. Standard health evaluations had previously hinted that not everything was in perfect balance, yet within a culture that prized steadiness and outward calm, those signals were frequently set aside. Catherine carried on with her public role, offering the familiar warmth people had come to expect. She fulfilled appearances, connected with communities, and upheld the poise that defined her presence. Still, once each engagement ended, weariness became harder to conceal. There were moments when her diminishing energy required a brief stillness, a quiet pause to regain composure before moving forward once again. These instances passed quietly, shielded from wider view in an effort to honor personal boundaries. On more than one occasion, she experienced moments of near collapse during public visits, each one managed with care and discretion. Health professionals recommended further evaluation to better understand the underlying signs, and the more thorough findings prompted genuine concern. They emphasized the importance of immediate rest and timely support. Yet within the royal household, hesitation driven by media sensitivity and fear of public reaction led to repeated delays, postponing critical choices again and again, even as the circumstances steadily became more pressing. As discussions continued behind the scenes, Catherine's state shifted more rapidly than anticipated. Outwardly, she remained poised and serene, yet beneath that composure she was enduring a persistent, unseen struggle. William recognized the change and pressed repeatedly for a different course of action, but the accumulated hesitation had already complicated matters beyond easy resolution. Carefully selected images and reassuring language were assembled to steady public sentiment, even as the truth behind those refined presentations was becoming increasingly difficult to contain. Behind the scenes, prolonged and emotionally charged discussions unfolded as the family wrestled with what responsibility truly demanded. Some felt openness was owed, while others worried that full disclosure might unravel already fragile stability. As the institution faced mounting strain, it was Catherine who ultimately took an unforeseen step. She decided to share her voice in a way that felt authentic to her, not through official statements or calculated messaging, but through a modest, sincere recording made in a peaceful garden, guided by calm intention rather than ceremony. In that short span of time, she spoke with quiet clarity about her experience. The message surfaced unexpectedly, not as a calculated release, but as a sincere and brave expression shared on her own terms. In doing so, The distance between the royal household and the public seemed to soften, revealing a side rooted in shared humanity rather than ceremony. That single moment reshaped how many came to understand openness, inner strength, and the lasting impact of speaking truth with grace. There were no formal melodies, no symbols of authority framing the message. It was simply her, seated in a calm outdoor space, surrounded by stillness. Her tone remained soft and composed, yet the weight carried by each sentence held the audience's full attention. She acknowledged what had remained unspoken for so long, that she had undergone a significant medical procedure and that the findings pointed to a serious condition requiring ongoing care. She avoided technical language and chose clarity instead, speaking in a direct, human way, as someone sharing her own path with honesty rather than formality. If her openness and quiet strength resonate with you, leave a 1. If you're still reflecting and unsure, leave a 0. Stay with us for the full story and remember to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel, so we can continue sharing thoughtful, moving narratives that inspire understanding and connection. Her gaze, the silences between phrases, each deliberate breath conveyed a calm resolve that needed no emphasis. She expressed gratitude to those who had waited with patience and gently requested continued space as her care moved forward. Yet beneath the composed delivery lingered the subtle feeling of letting go of something once familiar, quiet, contained, and profoundly aching. There was no spectacle or flourish, only a hush that seemed to draw every viewer closer, as though she fully grasped the gravity of her reality, and still chose to release it softly, in words carried almost like a murmur. The response rose swiftly, sweeping across digital spaces with remarkable intensity. On platforms around the world, interest and engagement multiplied at such speed that timelines struggled to keep pace. Words of encouragement and symbols of support traveled across borders, linking strangers through shared concern. Broadcasters paused, voices softening as they repeated her message in real time. Near royal landmarks, candles glowed long into the night, small points of light carrying silent hopes. Messages arrived from students, from families, from figures of public responsibility, all converging toward a single expression of care and solidarity. Yet within that surge of collective feeling, one moment brought the nation to a standstill, the quiet reaction of Prince William, her husband. Accounts later suggested he had not known the precise moment the message would appear. Hours afterward, while visiting a school, a child voiced the question echoing across the country, "How is she doing, sir?" In that instant, William's posture softened. He lowered his gaze, his expression shifting as he turned slightly away, not swiftly enough to conceal eyes touched with emotion, revealing a depth of feeling no words could shield. For the first time in his public journey, the usually steady and self-contained figure allowed emotion to surface, without disguise or defense. Those nearby noticed, yet no images were amplified. No moment was turned into display. Even observers understood that this was not a scene meant for commentary, but a private fracture within a family. What she had done was unprecedented in spirit. The familiar layers of distance and formality were set aside, replaced by the quiet truth of a person confronting an immense personal trial. And rather than diminishing anything, that sincerity reshaped perception, revealing that openness, when guided by dignity, can carry a strength far deeper than any symbol ever could. It allowed the institution itself to feel closer, more grounded in shared experience. Her openness was not a sign of fragility. It emerged as a deeper kind of resilience, something long symbolized but rarely embodied. Centuries of distance and quiet mystique seemed to dissolve in little more than a minute, yet nothing was lost. What followed was a sense of relief, a family willing to acknowledge hardship, willing to face reality without disguise. Not through ceremony or status, but through transparency, sincerity, and a calm, unwavering courage. Even as global sentiment gathered around her with care and confidence, a different tension quietly emerged within the historic corridors. An unspoken question took form: how responsibilities might shift if familiar roles could no longer be resumed as before. While people beyond the gates expressed hope and solidarity, subtle deliberations unfolded behind them. The residence, once defined by continuity and reflection, gradually took on another dimension, where influence and future positioning were considered in hushed tones. No one spoke the forbidden term aloud. Within royal circles, such language simply does not exist. Yet subtle signs began to appear. Meetings quietly deferred, responsibilities gently redistributed, long-established arrangements adjusting in ways once considered unthinkable. In private exchanges, a difficult question slowly surfaced, unvoiced yet present in every pause. What if her return was no longer certain? And within that space of uncertainty, influence began to drift, not with declarations or visible gestures, but through small, deliberate movements. The change was not announced, yet it was felt a quiet realignment moving through the palace halls, restrained, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. Individuals within Camilla's closest advisory circle, figures well-versed in quiet navigation, were among the first to recognize a shift taking shape. Conversations began to surface about the potential for her presence to grow more visible again. These discussions were never framed as ambition, but as continuity. They spoke in careful terms about reinforcing steadiness, assuming select representational duties, guiding symbolic appearances, and being prepared to step forward should circumstances require reassurance rather than disruption. The phrasing was consistently careful, polished to sound responsible rather than self-serving, yet the underlying intent was quietly understood. Each suggestion was presented as obligation, never desire. Those nearest to Eleanor, the princess in recovery, recognized the shift at once. Anne, seasoned by years of service in this imagined royal sphere, saw through the framing without hesitation. Sophie did as well. Both had carried the weight of duty long enough to distinguish genuine necessity from calculated positioning, and their allegiance remained with integrity and clarity, not with subtle games of advantage. Whenever conversations edged toward the notion of finding someone else, they were halted without hesitation. During one closed-door discussion, Anne reportedly addressed a senior advisor with rare firmness, cautioning that even entertaining such language could fracture the fragile trust still holding public confidence together. Sophie added her voice as well, underscoring that Eleanor's absence was not a vacancy to be claimed, but a period of difficulty that required dignity, restraint, and unwavering respect. The family could endure quiet restraint for a time, but deception masked as procedure was something else entirely. Even so, subtle repositioning carried on behind closed doors. Calendars were re-examined in silence. Select responsibilities shifted hands. Appearances were recalibrated under the familiar language of preserving continuity. Every move was made carefully, quietly, and without William's knowledge, until the moment he became aware of it himself. And when that realization settled in, a fierce surge of emotion rose within him, sudden and impossible to contain. Bathed in the relentless glow of royal attention, the relationship between King Charles and Camilla has always carried an air of complexity and quiet debate. What once seemed like an unshakable union now appears to have reached an unforeseen turning point, sending ripples of surprise through both Buckingham Palace and the wider public. King Charles and Camilla are said to be moving forward on separate paths, a shift few address openly. Yet many quietly sense. What unfolding forces brought them to this crossroads, and what truly transpires behind the velvet drapery of the crown? Here is the deeper story. No one can truly pinpoint the moment when the quiet fractures first began to surface. Was it the unrelenting pressure of expectation, the intricate dynamics within palace walls, or perhaps the growing distance formed in unspoken moments. If this perspective resonates with you, drop a 1-inch the comments. If you see it another way, leave a 0 below. And as you settle in to enjoy the story, don't forget to hit subscribe. Your support fuels the journey and inspires even more compelling stories ahead. Camilla did not depart in the shadow of defeat, nor did she cling to what time itself had already quietly altered. Instead, she withdrew with calm resolve, leaving behind the symbols, the scrutiny, and one of the most closely watched unions in modern British history. Charles, still standing at the summit of authority, continues to move with the stature of a monarch. Yet beneath the crown remains a man, carrying the silent weight of responsibility while learning to face a kind of loss no crown can ever shield him from. No one has been cast as the loser, and no one stands as the victor. What lingers instead is a bond that once appeared timeless, now slipping quietly into stillness like the final pages of a royal legend turning without a sound. There are no public declarations, no clarifications, and no hints of what the future may hold. The world watches in stunned silence, while social media erupts with countless reactions spanning disbelief, debate, fascination, and even unexpected celebration. News broadcasts continue to resurface fragments of Camilla's past in slow motion. Her unreadable smile beneath the lights of a charity gala in flowing green silk, her composed presence beside Charles during the coronation, while a single question quietly ripples through every frame. Why? What truly unfolded behind closed doors? Once defined by the shadow of history as the third presence in the story of Charles and Princess Diana, Camilla now appears to be standing at yet another uncertain threshold, where the past and the unknown seem to meet once more. The Queen's path has unfolded like a living saga, layered with longing, endurance, and relentless scrutiny. From a quiet, complicated romance in the 1,970 seconds, through long years beneath the weight of public judgment, to finally ascending the throne in 2022, each chapter has carried both triumph and turbulence. The words spoken by Diana in her 1995 BBC interview continue to linger in collective memory. "There are 3 of us in this marriage, so it's a bit crowded." A line that never truly faded with time. Nearly 3 decades later, its echo still stirs old emotions, reopening the shadows of one of the monarchy's most sensitive and enduring chapters. Though now wearing the crown, Camilla has never truly stepped beyond the vast emotional legacy left by Diana, a symbol to many of compassion, vulnerability, and quiet strength. Her apparent withdrawal at this moment casts light on a sobering idea. Even the most powerful throne may be too narrow to contain 2 enduring stories at once. What currents, then, have carried the woman who once stood firmly against the world for her love to this uncertain crossroads? Was it the silent machinery of palace life, a conscious act of letting go, or simply the natural closing of a chapter shaped by time and circumstance? Within hours of the stunning development, all of England and much of the world began retracing the long, intricate trail of history. Scholars, analysts, and media voices hurried to dissect every detail, as though carefully uncovering the fragile layers of a royal legacy. Attention once again turned to the widely reported private call controversy of the early 1,990 seconds, a moment that brought hidden emotions into public view. From there, the spotlight moved back to the painful unraveling of Charles and Diana's marriage, the profound loss that followed in 1997, and Camilla's quiet yet resolute return to public life in 2005, when she stepped into the palace corridors amid a nation still wrestling with unresolved feelings. Each of these moments now feels like a scattered shard of the intricate Windsor mosaic, with Camilla seen both as the focus of public doubt and as a quiet emblem of endurance through hardship. Yet Charles's words seemed to carry more weight than a simple announcement. They felt like a subtle signal of a deeper unraveling beneath the surface. Quiet speculation speaks of strained exchanges between Charles and Camilla in the days leading up to the revelation, when a bond that once withstood immense pressure appeared at last to have reached a breaking point. In a rare, unguarded moment, Charles is said to have shared with a trusted confidant a thought weighted with quiet doubt. "I don't know if I can keep her beside me without unsettling the crown itself." Those hushed words, drifting through the palace like a cold current, seemed to crystallize the unease surrounding the situation. And with that, the largest question emerged. What force could have led Camilla, who once relinquished so much to stand with Charles, to finally step away? Was it a deliberate act of restraint, a personal choice made to protect the throne, or simply the unavoidable surrender to memories that time could never fully erase? Within the hushed passageways of the palace, subtle murmurs began to rise, coded phrases, passing looks, and unanswered truths suspended in the air. This is no longer just the account of a queen stepping back. It is the unfolding of a monarchy poised at a defining threshold, where influence, allegiance, and fracture converge in a tense and unforgiving dance. Camilla may have withdrawn from view, yet the turbulence left in her wake is only beginning to take shape, casting uncertain waves that now ripple through the very heart of the royal family. And somewhere within the quiet folds of memory, Diana's shadow still seemed to linger, a wordless reminder of a crown that was never truly destined for her. Buckingham Palace, with its towering stone and endless hallways, had long carried the stillness of a sealed chamber. Yet in the days before Camilla's revelation, the atmosphere grew dense and uneasy, as if the very walls were suspended in silence, bracing themselves for the moment when everything would inevitably change. The normally reserved palace aides were said to sense an unsettling change in the air. As queen, Camilla was believed to have gradually broadened her involvement in ceremonial matters, quietly sparking areas of friction with Charles and nudging the monarchy toward an uneasy phase. One insider suggested that strain between Charles and Camilla had been quietly accumulating for months, as she became more present in discussions surrounding important royal affairs. One evening, within a secluded dining chamber where soft candlelight stretched uncertain shadows across composed yet distant expressions, Camilla is said to have encouraged Charles to reflect on the course of upcoming public appearances. "Our image must feel stronger," she reportedly expressed with quiet determination. "I need a broader presence to reinforce our public standing." Charles, weary yet composed, is believed to have replied with calm firmness, "You hold the crown beside me, but the weight of final responsibility is mine. There are lines that must remain untouched." Those words, though delivered in an even tone, landed with the force of an unspoken rupture. Camilla, her composure giving way to a sudden surge of emotion, rose without hesitation, her emerald silk trailing softly behind her, as she departed the room in silence, leaving an absence that felt louder than any confrontation. The true fracture followed soon after, when Camilla independently moved to withdraw a planned address by the Princess of Wales. Catherine was said to have felt the message leaned too heavily into contemporary themes and drifted from the monarchy's long-held traditions. The decision sent a quiet shock through the palace and stirred a wave of unease behind its closed doors. Kate, long admired for her quiet dignity and unwavering commitment, had carefully shaped the address to reflect the heart of her charitable mission, an essential part of her public role. When Charles learned of the sudden change, he requested a private meeting with Camilla in his study, where generations of solemn portraits looked on in stillness. There, he spoke with rare intensity, his words controlled yet charged with emotion, making it clear that such an intervention had crossed a line and should never have touched Catherine's work. "You are quietly fracturing the harmony of this crown," Camilla answered with an uncharacteristic flare of resolve, her voice carrying a sharpened edge. "You stand so readily for them, but who stands for me? I surrendered an entire life to be here, Charles. Yet at times it feels as though I am regarded as nothing more than a necessary exchange." The exchange reached its emotional peak as a sharp sound struck the tabletop, echoing through the room like a final signal. She then turned away and departed in silence, leaving Charles alone amid the heavy stillness that followed. The strain soon reached beyond ceremonial concerns. Camilla was said to press for greater influence in internal matters as well, from staff appointments to adjustments in the royal timetable. At one stage, she reportedly asked Charles to remove a long-serving advisor whom she felt had shown her a lack of regard during a private exchange. Worried by the mounting pressure, Charles is said to have drawn a clear line. "I cannot guide this institution by the sway of personal feelings alone," he responded with measured firmness. The weight of his response struck a tender place within Camilla. "You speak only of the crown," she answered, emotion trembling through her words, her composure barely holding. "But you overlook the truth. I have given my entire life to stand within its shadow." Caught between personal devotion and royal obligation, Charles found himself growing ever more alone. In a rare private moment at Clarence House, he is said to have shared his quiet sorrow with a long-trusted friend, murmuring with heavy reflection, "I care for her deeply, yet at times I fear that love itself may be my greatest burden." She asks for more than I am able to offer, and I no longer know how to hold on without losing who I am. Once those words were spoken, they seemed to move through the palace like a chill in the air, awakening quiet speculation of a fracture not only within a marriage, but within the very foundation of the crown itself. Meanwhile, William and Catherine, fully sensing the growing strain, chose to remain at a careful distance, intervening only when the situation left them no other choice. A quiet insider later shared that during a private exchange with Catherine at Kensington Palace, William confided, "This is my father's trial to carry. Our role is to ensure the crown does not fall beneath its weight." Catherine, calm as ever, listened in silence and gave a measured nod, but the concern was unmistakable in her eyes. She understood all too well how every abrupt decision, every unchecked impulse from Camilla was like a stone dropped into tranquil waters, sending widening circles of unease that risked pulling the entire royal household into uncertainty. Within the half-lit passageways of the palace, quiet murmurs began to swell beneath the stone arches, signaling that a turning point was drawing near. What had once been a private strain between Charles and Camilla was no longer confined to closed doors. It was now reshaping the destiny of the crown itself. On the morning of September 15, as Prince Harry's 40th birthday arrived with the cool breath of a London autumn, soft winds stirred fallen leaves around the historic silhouette of Buckingham Palace. Outside, the city moved with gentle rhythm, but within the palace walls, the atmosphere felt dense and unmoving, as if time itself had paused in anticipation of what was to come. Harry, once seen as the lively promise of a new generation, the younger son with an infectious grin and an untamed streak, has since become one of the monarchy's most polarizing figures. His choice to step back from royal life at a young age, the candid global interview, and his deeply personal memoirs reshaped public perception, casting him, for many, as a disruptive presence against the carefully preserved image of Windsor. Yet in the eyes of King Charles III, Harry remains the child he once cradled with pride, the boy whose face would light up at the mention of the royal stables, who listened wide-eyed to family legends as twilight settled over the gardens of Highgrove. In an unusually heartfelt moment, Charles is said to have reached for the phone to wish Harry a happy birthday, a simple act on the surface, yet one laden with quiet significance. It was his personal gesture toward healing, a subtle effort to bridge the fragile space between father and son, and perhaps to soften the public's divided emotions of affection and disappointment toward Harry. For Camilla, however, this gentle outreach reportedly struck a final chord, pushing an already delicate balance beyond its limit and marking a quiet turning point in their strained relationship. The world seemed to pause as King Charles and Prince William, two figures bearing the quiet gravity of duty, finally addressed the public. Yet this was no formal announcement or ceremonial message, but a rare moment of emotional transparency, hinting at the fragile reality surrounding Princess Catherine, a reality long shielded from view by layers of tradition and restraint. For months, questions lingered about what truly unfolded beyond the guarded walls of Kensington Palace, where silence spoke louder than any official statement. Why did William appear to defy every unspoken rule, choosing words that felt less like tradition and more like open confrontation with the very system that shaped him? Today, we draw back the veil to trace the unsettling sequence surrounding Catherine's gradual withdrawal from public view and the fractures that quietly formed within the palace itself. This is not merely a narrative about physical well-being, but a deeper reflection on influence, inner tension, and how Catherine's composed resolve subtly altered the direction of an ancient institution. Stay with us until the end. Subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments as we explore a chapter of royal history rarely brought into the light. Moments ago, Buckingham Palace ended weeks of quiet speculation with a statement that instantly drew global focus back to London. Time itself seemed to hesitate during the briefing as King Charles and Prince William appeared together, composed on the surface, yet carrying a weight that was impossible to ignore. This was not a scheduled formality or symbolic gesture, but a carefully measured moment in which the royal household acknowledged matters they could no longer withhold, addressing concerns that had quietly unsettled the public for far too long. The tone inside the room shifted to one of quiet gravity, absent of spectacle or ritual, marked instead by restraint and genuine consideration for those present. What was shared was concise, yet unmistakably significant. The palace conveyed that Princess Catherine's well-being had entered a phase requiring heightened care in recent days. While specific details were intentionally withheld, it was acknowledged that the family was navigating a demanding moment, and a respectful request was made for privacy and understanding as they moved through this period. King Charles was the first to speak, his tone subdued and reflective, carrying warmth that felt personal rather than ceremonial, a man voicing care not from authority, but from familial bond and quiet devotion to his daughter-in-law. Prince William then stepped forward, expressing sincere appreciation for the compassion shown by the public during this uncertain chapter. He offered no sweeping reassurances or grand forecasts. Instead, he spoke with measured honesty, recognizing that while hope remained present, the family was also grounding itself in realism and readiness for whatever lay ahead. The phrase, "we hope, but we must also prepare," quietly exposed the weight carried by a partner striving to remain steady beneath extraordinary strain. In the moments that followed, a wave of collective empathy spread across borders from Windsor to Kensington and far beyond as candles were lit and thoughts of calm and solace were shared for the royal household. Broadcasters around the world interrupted regular programming to relay the news, while countless messages of encouragement reached Buckingham Palace, echoing the profound regard and emotional connection people hold for a woman whose grace has long resonated with the public. What truly resonated with the public was not merely what was said, but how it was conveyed calm, thoughtful, and free from dramatization. The tone reflected a careful balance between transparency and compassion, honoring Catherine's personal boundaries while gently reminding the world that rank and titles do not erase human fragility. In that quiet exchange, she was seen not only as a figure of tradition, but as an embodiment of inner strength, reflecting the universal need for empathy during life's most delicate moments. Despite this, uncertainty continues to linger. The palace has chosen not to elaborate on any form of care, instead underscoring that this is a sensitive chapter requiring space and discretion. To grasp the broader picture, attention turns back to the initial period when Princess Catherine quietly withdrew from public view. At first, it was widely assumed to be a temporary pause, an ordinary interval of rest. Yet as time moved on with no fresh images, no public engagements, and no revised calendar, a subtle unease began to surface, and curiosity slowly transformed into genuine concern. The palace later acknowledged that Catherine had received a carefully arranged medical procedure and was now focused on recovery. Yet subtle changes in Prince William's public calendar did not go unnoticed. Appearances were quietly reshaped, certain duties delayed, and when he did step into view, an unspoken gravity seemed to follow him. Questions naturally arose, but the palace responded with restraint, holding firmly to a familiar principle that moments of personal significance are met not with exposure, but with measured silence and respect. As the quiet period continued, conjecture inevitably emerged, even as trusted media voices reminded audiences to refrain from circulating unconfirmed narratives. They stressed that situations involving personal well-being call for patience, empathy, and restraint. Amid this atmosphere, Prince William's reserved and contemplative public demeanor became especially striking, underscoring the profound weight he was carrying, navigating the responsibilities of future leadership while also standing as a devoted partner, privately concerned for someone profoundly important to him. Though his upbringing had long been shaped by duty and expectation, no preparation could truly equip him for a moment like this. That quiet realization reminded many that beyond protocol and pageantry exists a family experiencing uncertainty, deserving empathy, time, and consideration. In William's case, the identity of a partner has consistently stood above ceremonial rank, and it was that deeply human instinct that guided a choice compelling the institution around him to pause, look inward, and reconsider the balance between legacy and compassion. During those initial weeks, he continued to move within the rigid structure of royal responsibility, maintaining composed expressions, attending scheduled engagements, and delivering carefully chosen words intended to steady public sentiment. Yet beyond the quiet threshold of Adelaide Cottage, the weight of personal reality deepened with each passing day. The person who had shared every chapter of his public path was facing increasing fragility, while institutional expectations encouraged restraint, urging him to maintain appearances and proceed as though the private struggle unfolding behind the scenes did not exist. Gradually, solitude began to leave its mark on William. Those around him observed his absence from familiar circles, while concern quietly grew as messages went unanswered. He withdrew even from trusted advisors, favoring distance over rehearsed exchanges. And on the rare occasions he did respond, his words were sharper, more candid, and carried a quiet resistance. Behind the palace walls, strain deepened with each passing day. When asked once more to adhere to the customary framework of controlled appearances, William reached a turning point, choosing, for the first time, not to follow the expected path. At that point, his focus had shifted away from safeguarding tradition and toward honoring a personal bond. A short message, sent privately, carried a simple but powerful sentiment about dignity and care. It was not a demand, but a call for empathy and openness. When its existence became widely discussed, reactions spread rapidly across media platforms. Yet William did not retreat. Rather than rejecting his stance, many began to reflect on whether communication had been too tightly managed and whether prolonged restraint had kept essential understanding out of reach for far too long. At the same time, advisors proposed releasing carefully curated images to ease public concern, but William dismissed the idea outright. He would not allow his wife's fragile state to be shaped into a calculated gesture for reassurance. Rather than choosing the predictable path, he quietly reached out to a small number of trusted journalists, not to provoke controversy, but to guide the story toward honesty and humanity. As Catherine's condition became more delicate, William's inner turmoil deepened. He noticed the changes himself, her voice growing softer, her eyes losing their familiar light, her strength fading as though slowly weighed down by something unseen. Her journey gradually transformed into a broader reminder about the importance of boundaries and the quiet necessity of calm in every human life. Amid the rising strain, Charles was the least likely figure to act outside established norms. Known for restraint and adherence to tradition, his perspective shifted the moment he stood beside Catherine in a private, vulnerable setting. Witnessing her fragility, her uncertainty, and her composed resilience left a lasting impact. From that point on, retreating behind inherited customs and ceremonial distance was no longer possible for him. Charles left the room with a look shaped by deep reflection. The quiet he carried that evening spoke with greater weight than any prepared statement ever could. Later, within the walls of Clarence's house, an unusual gathering was called not to review schedules or formalities, but to face a deeper realization that sincerity and human truth must sometimes stand above customs preserved by time. In that uncommon pause, one understanding surfaced clearly regardless of rank or legacy. There are moments when empathy and the courage to truly hear one another become the most vital acts of all. The decisions made by those involved extended beyond duty, serving as a reminder that authenticity and understanding can quietly reshape even the most established structures. The meeting space filled quickly with senior advisors, close aides, and Camilla herself. What was typically a controlled and ceremonial setting shifted abruptly when Charles, long associated with restraint and balance, struck the table to command attention. The room fell into stillness. With steady resolve, he stated that continued concealment no longer served a purpose, and that the public had a right to be aware of the private struggle unfolding within the family, not as spectacle, but as shared human reality. Camilla, experienced in guiding delicate decisions, attempted to appeal to reason, emphasizing the importance of restraint and the long-standing expectation that the institution project calm and continuity. She spoke of perception, of the responsibility to appear steady when uncertainty arises. Yet in that moment, Charles chose not to retreat into familiar patterns. His response was measured but unwavering, making it clear that adherence to silence no longer felt justified, and that above all else, dignity and consideration for the individual at the center of concern had to take precedence. His statement brought the discussion to a sudden standstill. It marked one of the few instances in his leadership where personal feeling clearly surpassed inherited custom. Those present exchanged quiet glances, aware that they were observing a shift, a departure from the measured, predictable figure they had long known. This was not a strategic move or a calculated gesture, but an unfiltered display of humanity, something beyond the reach of planning or presentation. In that instant, an unseen boundary quietly emerged within the palace itself. Bathed in the relentless glow of royal attention, the relationship between King Charles and Camilla has always carried an air of complexity and quiet debate. What once seemed like an unshakable union now appears to have reached an unforeseen turning point, sending ripples of surprise through both Buckingham Palace and the wider public. King Charles and Camilla are said to be moving forward on separate paths, a shift few address openly. Yet many quietly sense what unfolding forces brought them to this crossroads, and what truly transpires behind the velvet drapery of the crown. Here is the deeper story. No one can truly pinpoint the moment when the quiet fractures first began to surface. Was it the unrelenting pressure of expectation, the intricate dynamics within palace walls, or perhaps the growing distance formed in unspoken moments. If this perspective resonates with you, drop a 1-inch in the comments. If you see it another way, leave a 0 below. And as you settle in to enjoy the story, don't forget to hit subscribe. Your support fuels the journey and inspires even more compelling stories ahead. But I am deeply thankful that you reached out for me. That brief exchange could not mend the fractures of the past, yet it offered Charles the faintest trace of comfort. At the same time, it sharpened his awareness of what Camilla's departure had truly cost, the absence of the woman who had given her entire life to stand beside him. When the call ended, Charles remained seated in the darkness, his gaze fixed on the quiet void before him, searching for answers he knew would never be found. Within the palace walls, the murmurs continued to drift, no longer fueled by curiosity alone, but now weighted with growing unease about what lay ahead for the monarchy. The quiet withdrawal of Charles, the isolation chosen by Camilla, and the measured restraint of William and Catherine together formed a fragmented picture, each holding unspoken grief, silent calculation, and carefully guarded truths. In the days following Camilla's departure, Buckingham Palace was stirred by unseen turbulence, delicately concealed behind impeccably worded public statements. Behind closed doors and along the palace's shadowed corridors, senior advisors gathered in urgent consultation, working swiftly to shield the institution from a crisis threatening to surface beyond the stone walls. A daring suggestion has reportedly emerged from a high-ranking advisor known for forward-thinking views, to redefine Camilla's position into that of a ceremonial consort rather than a reigning queen. The proposal has instantly stirred intense debate. Supporters believe it could allow her to remain connected to the crown while easing the strain on Charles's public standing, particularly while public sentiment remains divided. Traditionalists, however, view the idea as an unacceptable blow, one that would symbolically diminish her status and blur the clarity of her place within the monarchy. In those closed-door discussions, Charles remained wordless, yet the conflict within him was impossible to hide. Seated at the head of the table, his gaze lingered on the neatly arranged papers as though a hidden solution might be concealed between the lines. His thoughts drifted back to the vows he had spoken to Camilla in 2005 beneath the quiet skies of Windsor. "I will never let you face life alone." Now, that pledge felt painfully fractured. When the advisors finally pressed him for a decision, Charles spoke at last, his voice weighed down by quiet anguish. "I cannot bring myself to choose between her and the crown." His quiet was interpreted by some as acceptance, but in truth it reflected the stillness of a man suspended between devotion and responsibility. When news of the proposal reached Camilla through a trusted acquaintance, she issued a brief message from her retreat in Gloucestershire, penned on personal stationery. "I do not require a title to understand my worth." The sentence was spare, yet it carried an unyielding sense of self, echoing the strength of a woman who had once faced the world without retreat. Yet beneath that outward composure, Camilla was said to be quietly breaking. "They are trying to erase me," she confided to a trusted friend, her voice unsteady as she gazed across the rain-drenched garden outside her window. "But I refuse to disappear." From within her retreat, she began keeping a fresh journal, carefully recording her years beside Charles, almost as if she were preserving her own existence before memory and time could quietly take everything away. The world now waits in quiet uncertainty. Will Camilla step back into the light or fade into history as a lingering shadow of the crown? Some see her retreat as a measured pause, a silent maneuver to regain control of her narrative. Others believe she is simply exhausted, worn down by memories that refuse to loosen their grip and by a crown that demands more than any heart can bear. Meanwhile, William and Catherine continue their public duties with polished composure, their smiles precise, their words carefully chosen, standing at the edge of the unfolding storm, steadying the institution while the deeper conflict rages just beyond view. They continue to appear at charitable engagements, welcoming the public and quietly reinforcing the stability of the crown's image. Yet behind closed doors, William is said to have confided to Catherine, "This is something father must face on his own. But if he falters, we must be ready to safeguard the monarchy." Catherine responded with a silent, steady nod, calm, prepared to step forward if fate demanded it. As the balance of influence in London subtly shifts, a single question now lingers heavily over the entire realm. Is Camilla's withdrawal a final closing, or the quiet opening of something far more uncertain? With long-hidden fractures now exposed, the House of Windsor finds itself at a defining moment in history. Within the palace's shadowed halls, subtle currents of change begin to stir, suggesting a struggle not merely for position, but for the deeper identity of the monarchy itself. And somewhere within the echoes of memory, the figures of Diana, Harry, and now Camilla continue to linger, enduring imprints of a crown shaped as much by human emotion as by royal tradition. As King Charles III remains locked in a private struggle caught between the weight of the crown and the ache of a fractured heart, Prince William, the heir to the throne, is already moving in silence, setting the earliest foundations for what comes next. Behind the tranquil facade of Kensington Palace, amid its calm gardens and softly lit rooms, a subtle transformation is quietly taking shape, the beginning of a new chapter unfolding far from the noise of the world. Within a secluded meeting chamber, where tall windows poured soft light across composed, serious faces, William quietly led a confidential gathering to introduce what would later be known as the Royal Image Renewal Strategy. Thoughtfully developed alongside the Princess of Wales, Catherine, the initiative focuses on forward-looking values, emotional well-being, environmental responsibility, and other urgent concerns they believe can restore the monarchy's connection with a younger generation and a society searching for meaning and renewal. Before the gathered advisors, William's voice carried calm firmness and quiet authority. "We do not rewrite history, and we do not erase any individual," he said. "We move forward to safeguard the monarchy and keep it relevant in the world of today." Camilla's name never passed his lips, yet the space she left behind was palpable to everyone in the room. The advisors sensed his careful balance, showing deference to his father while, at the same time, subtly guiding the institution toward a future no longer shaped by Camilla's presence or the long shadows of earlier controversies. Though formally invited to attend, Charles replied only with a short message sent through his private secretary. "I place my faith in my son." He gave his approval to the initiative without proposing a single change, yet his restraint carried a deeper weight than any spoken objection. Later, in a quiet exchange at Clarence House, as William briefed him on the unfolding plans, Charles placed a tired hand upon his son's shoulder. "You are accomplishing what I never found the strength to do," he said softly, his words heavy with both pride and lingering sorrow. But never forget, Camilla is not the adversary. She has given up far more than you may ever fully see. With that quiet reminder, Charles made it clear that beneath the sorrow and strain, his feelings for Camilla still endured, and he would not allow her to be reduced to a figure to be brushed aside. With her characteristic grace and sensitivity, Kate carefully positioned herself as a bridge between father and son, shaping public messages that paid respect to Charles's reign, while, with subtle precision, guiding the narrative toward William's emerging vision for the future of the monarchy. At a mental health charity gathering, Kate stood before the audience with a presence that was both gentle and assured. The monarchy is more than a symbol of the past. It is a guiding light for what lies ahead. We are here to hear your voices, to stand with you, and to shape a brighter future together, she said. In the wake of the uncertainty surrounding Camilla, the public's confidence began to shift toward the younger generation. Commentators in The Telegraph and The Guardian soon hailed William and Kate as the embodiment of fresh optimism and steady renewal. Yet the quiet imprint of Camilla still hangs in the background, a lingering reminder of what the palace has quietly surrendered. Charles, though carrying the weight of loss, has slowly returned to limited public appearances. The sorrow in his eyes now shares space with a new steadiness, as if he has accepted that preserving the crown requires endurance, even when the heart is wounded. Meanwhile, William and Kate, moving with deliberate care and quiet precision, continue to shape the contours of a renewed monarchy. Still, they understand one truth cannot be undone. The presence of Camilla and of Diana will forever remain woven into the soul of the royal story. Under the rare glow of summer sunlight on the day of the Color Parade, one of the monarchy's most majestic annual ceremonies, London's skies shimmered with celebration. Buckingham Palace, adorned with rippling flags and stirred by the call of ceremonial trumpets, once again became the focal point of the nation's attention. Yet when King Charles III appeared alone on the balcony in his vivid red uniform, a quiet sorrow lingered unmistakably in his expression. Beside him, William, Kate, and their children George, Charlotte, and Louis stood smiling with polished grace. But the space where Camilla should have been felt strikingly empty, an absence noted not only by the crowd below, but by every lens of the world's media. A shopper in a nearby district shared with a BBC correspondent, "I was never fond of Camilla, but seeing her vanish like this makes you question what truly unfolded behind the scenes." Meanwhile, in the quiet of his private office at Clarence House, Charles turned over a modest ring Camilla had once given him for an anniversary simple in design, yet heavy with memory. Etched inside were the words, "Forever, together." Now it felt less like a promise and more like an echo of what had slipped away. "I still care for her," he admitted softly to a trusted aide, his voice thick with emotion as his eyes drifted toward the light at the window. "But I cannot hold on to her without risking the fragile balance of everything built around us." Allowing Camilla to fade quietly from view became the silent cost he accepted to protect the stability of the crown. Yet that choice carved an emptiness within him that no title or throne could ever heal. From her retreat in Gloucester, Camilla now lives in near seclusion, but she has not disappeared entirely. A trusted friend has revealed that she has begun writing a memoir, each page shaped by long, restless nights, as she seeks to tell her own story in her own voice. She wants the world to understand that she was never an enemy of anyone's happiness, her friend shared gently, with quiet compassion. She is simply a woman who loved deeply and paid a far greater cost than anyone ever imagined. In her memoir, Camilla looks back on the years beside Charles, the moments she silently shielded him, the solitude of being cast as an outsider. Yet she also writes of the slow rise of her disappointment of the times he placed the crown before their bond, and of her departure not as an escape, but as a final act of choosing her own freedom. William and Catherine continue to guide the monarchy toward a more contemporary path through fresh initiatives and forward-thinking projects, all while maintaining deep respect for Charles's role and legacy. At every public appearance, from healthcare visits to environmental programs, they make a point of emphasizing that their efforts align with the king's broader vision. Yet behind closed doors, William is said to have quietly reflected to Kate, "We are shaping what lies ahead, but we cannot undo what has already been lived. Father still needs time, and it's our duty to allow him that space." Kate, ever guided by her quiet insight, responded with a resolute nod. She understood that protecting the crown meant walking a delicate line between renewal and allegiance. From afar in California, Prince Harry followed the events with mixed emotions. He offered no public statement on Camilla's departure, choosing silence instead, but privately, he sent his father a brief message, I hope you're holding up. Though simple, the words carried meaning, revealing that despite lingering hurt, the bond between father and son had not been completely severed. Yet he continues to keep a careful distance. Even the sound of his voice, carried through a brief call, holds the power to reopen emotions long left unspoken. Within the dim corridors of the palace, quiet murmurs still drift through the stone halls, reflecting the uncertainty of what lies ahead. The throne, no matter how radiant its image, forever carries the silhouettes of those who have stood near it. The separation of King Charles and Camilla is no longer just a story of personal sorrow. It has come to represent the deeper trials now facing the very heart of the British royal family. Through the visible cracks of both emotion and institution, the monarchy now finds itself balanced at a defining threshold called to change, yet bound to preserve. However this chapter ultimately resolves, one reality is certain: the imprint they have left will endure in both memory and history. And as the light of transformation continues to rise, the world will remain watching, waiting to see how the next foundations are carefully set to shape a crown that seeks strength through unity once more. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we turn our attention to a wave of intense online speculation that has captured global attention. A sudden surge of posts and visuals linked to Ozzy Osbourne has sparked widespread discussion and emotional reactions. Across platforms, the story is moving fast, leaving many people surprised, curious, and searching for clarity. But beneath the noise, an important question remains. What is genuinely confirmed, and what may be misunderstanding amplified by the digital age? Stay with us as we carefully explore what is known, separate signal from speculation, and look at the bigger picture behind the headlines. This is a conversation worth hearing through to the end. Are you someone who's followed Ozzy Osbourne's journey over the years? If so, let your presence be felt in the comments with a simple 1. If your connection comes mainly through his timeless music and iconic sound, a 0 says it all. Take a moment to settle in and enjoy the story unfolding on your screen, and if you find value in what we share, subscribing is a small step that helps this community continue to grow and thrive together. Not many are aware that during his later chapter, Ozzy Osbourne privately shared a brief recording, barely a couple of minutes long, yet it carried a depth of emotion that resonated far beyond its length. In that quiet moment, he reflected on the weight of physical challenges, while gently acknowledging the love and loyalty that had surrounded him for decades. He offered sincere appreciation to those who walked beside him through every era. From the electrifying days that shaped a musical legacy to the slower moments that demanded patience and resilience. His words were soft and unsteady, but his gaze revealed a familiar inner fire, the same enduring spirit that once filled vast arenas and continues to define who he is beyond the spotlight. What stirred deep emotion among those closest to him was the closing scene of that recording. Ozzy seated calmly before a large, handcrafted painting bearing a simple message of acceptance and serenity. He had personally asked for it to remain nearby during his most private moments, turning the space into one of quiet reflection. That image resonated far beyond the room, touching countless people who encountered it across the world. A figure once defined by rebellion, excess, and constant attention was now remembered through stillness and grace. His story endures not only through sound and stage, but through a powerful reminder that strength can also appear as calm, and that dignity and courage often shine brightest when life reaches its most delicate turning point. Ozzy Osbourne, widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in rock history, encountered profound physical challenges as he entered the later stages of life. Among them was Parkinson's disease, a reality he publicly acknowledged in 2019, marking a turning point in his personal journey. The condition gradually reshaped his daily rhythm, making movements that once felt effortless require patience and determination. Yet beyond the limitations, what continued to stand out was his inner strength and enduring connection to music, a creative force that remained alive within him, proving that passion and purpose can persist even when the body demands compromise. Following that revelation, his physical condition entered a more fragile phase. Periods of medical care and recovery became part of his routine, and the road ahead demanded endurance rather than ease. As time passed, his movements slowed, his energy narrowed, and even the strength behind his words required careful effort. Yet the defining thread of this chapter was not decline, but determination. Even as his body asked for rest, his connection to performance remained unshaken. Guided by a deep creative drive, he continued to step forward, choosing expression over retreat, and demonstrating that true devotion to art can persist long after comfort has disappeared. What sustained him through every challenge was a deep bond with sound and with the people who listened. Ozzy was never defined solely by his role as a performer. He embodied endurance itself. As physical strength gradually diminished, his inner resolve remained steady and unbroken. In the closing chapter of his public journey, he stepped onto a familiar stage in his hometown, a place closely tied to the origins of his legacy. That appearance carried more meaning than spectacle, marking a rare moment of reunion and reflection after many years apart. It was less about a final show and more about coming full circle, an artist standing where it all began, guided by loyalty, memory, and an unyielding spirit. For countless admirers, the moment carried a meaning far deeper than entertainment. It felt like a sincere closing chapter. Where many would have chosen silence in the face of physical hardship, Ozzy chose presence. Even while managing visible limitations and needing support, he found the strength to stand, to sing, and to share one last moment of connection. What unfolded was not defined by perfection, but by sincerity. That appearance settled gently into memory as a lasting farewell, a quiet understanding between artist and audience that this encounter might be the final shared breath of a long, remarkable journey on stage. Even as his strength continued to wane, Ozzy shared a brief yet stirring message that resonated deeply with everyone present, a familiar spark that signaled both energy and acceptance. The words carried more than excitement. They reflected a final surge of spirit from someone who had devoted his life to creative expression. In that space, the air was charged with emotion beyond easy explanation. Gratitude flowed quietly between artist and audience, shaped by perseverance, loyalty, and decades of shared memory. What remained was not simply a performance, but a lasting impression, a moment where determination, connection, and an enduring artistic legacy came together and etched themselves into collective memory. Even as life presented its most demanding trials, Ozzy continued forward, guided not by self-interest but by a deep sense of connection to sound and to those who listened. Physical limits and quiet suffering were unable to silence his desire to share what still lived within him. That enduring resolve became the essence of who he was, something audiences could sense even when his strength was visibly fading. It was this steady, unyielding spirit that lingered long after the moment passed, leaving a profound impression on all who found meaning in his music. What drove Ozzy to continue appearing on stage when his body was clearly asking him to stop? The explanation lies in a single defining force: music. For him, performance was never merely a profession or an obligation. It was inseparable from his identity. Sound, rhythm, and connection formed the foundation of his sense of purpose, and standing before an audience gave meaning to each passing day. In a reflective conversation later on, Ozzy openly shared that this creative bond was what gave his life depth and value, affirming that music was not something he did, it was who he was. This devotion explains why he continued to move forward despite illness and adversity, because music remained the force that sustained him through every season. Ozzy Osbourne's journey was shaped not only by intense, unforgettable chapters and public attention, but also by endurance, deep bonds with those he loved, and a steady refusal to surrender when circumstances became most demanding. He embraced each phase of life with presence and intention, and his closing chapter reflected something greater than spectacle. It stood as a quiet affirmation of resilience, purpose, and the lasting strength of a creative spirit that refused to fade. When a figure as influential as Ozzy Osbourne approaches the closing chapter of his path, the feeling that remains extends far beyond admiration, touching something deeper and more universal. The weight of that moment is difficult to put into words, not only for those who followed his work closely, but for anyone who understands the power of legacy. What gives his story added depth is the quiet significance of its final moments, the subtle shifts, the unforeseen turns, and the gentle farewells that many only began to recognize with time. Together, these elements transformed his ending into something profoundly human, leaving behind reflection rather than silence. These moments captured more than personal emotion. They reflected the devotion and inner strength that flowed through both his family life and his artistic path, symbolizing a lifetime shaped by endurance and meaningful sacrifice. On the 5th of July, 2025, Ozzy Osbourne stepped onto the stage for the final time at Villa Park in Birmingham, a setting deeply connected to the origins of his remarkable journey. What unfolded went beyond a typical performance, carrying the weight of history as he stood once again alongside Black Sabbath after 2 decades. It was a defining occasion where memory, legacy, and continuity quietly converged into a single, unforgettable chapter. That night at Villa Park carried a stillness that seemed to pause the flow of time itself. Although Ozzy's voice no longer held the same force it once did, each lyric reached deep into the crowd, stirring powerful emotion among the thousands gathered. Words were unnecessary. The meaning of the moment was understood without explanation. Every beam of light, every resonating chord felt like a quiet goodbye to an era shaped by the Prince of Darkness. And Ozzy, visibly fragile yet radiant, offered a gentle smile, as though sharing a final gesture of gratitude with everyone who had walked beside him through the years. Shortly after the lights dimmed, candid moments from behind the stage began circulating online, capturing a quieter side of the night. Ozzy was carefully supported as he settled into a wheelchair, his expression marked by visible fatigue, yet balanced by a calm sense of fulfillment in his eyes. It was clear he felt at peace with what he had given. In private, it was acknowledged that stepping onto the stage required immense effort and careful support, but none of that was allowed to shape what the audience experienced. For Ozzy, the connection with his fans came first, and he believed they deserved his full presence until the final note, no matter the cost to himself. By the following day, online spaces overflowed with images and messages honoring Ozzy Osbourne, as waves of appreciation spread across platforms worldwide. A simple phrase of gratitude quickly unified fans, climbing to the forefront of global conversation as people shared memories and quiet goodbyes. Though he had stepped back from public view, the essence of his work and presence remained unmistakably alive. Ozzy was remembered not only as a defining force in rock music, but as a living example of unwavering passion and resolve. And in the end, his farewell felt true to who he was, expressed through sound, through feeling, and through a sincerity that continues to echo long after the stage lights faded. The roar of applause and waves of cheers transformed the evening into a moment etched in history, as Ozzy completed his performance while carrying visible physical burdens. Those present at Villa Park that night would forever remember the image of him seated, holding the microphone with focus and resolve, delivering each line through to the final sound. His gaze moved across the audience, absorbing the energy, gratitude, and loyalty reflected back at him. It was a powerful sight, an iconic figure choosing purpose over limitation, showing that devotion to one's calling can shine even when strength is tested to its limits. Witnessing his daughter's engagement became a rare moment of brightness during a period filled with quiet struggle. Even while carrying physical discomfort and deep exhaustion, Ozzy's expression softened into a genuine smile, his eyes reflecting unmistakable happiness. With loved ones gathered close, the space felt intimate and almost timeless, filled with warmth and reverence. He reached for his daughter's hand and shared words of pride that carried profound meaning beyond the moment itself. What unfolded was more than a simple family milestone. It became a tender closing passage, revealing the human heart behind the legend and adding a deeply personal note to the story of his life. Even with an awareness that time was growing precious, Ozzy chose to carry a sense of light when speaking with his daughter. He showed interest in her future plans, asking gentle questions while quietly understanding that he would not be present on that special day. Rather than letting sorrow take the lead, he offered a simple yet powerful wish, encouraging her to live fully and remain true to herself. Those final words, shared in a moment of calm before rest, have since become invaluable memories held close by his family. And now, we'd like to hear from you. Do you think it's time for Ozzy Osbourne to step away from the stage after everything he has faced? If you feel he has earned the right to rest and focus on well-being, leave a number 2 inches the comments. If you believe his presence and music can still inspire the world, type number 5. Remember to like the video and subscribe to stay connected with more stories honoring. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we turn our attention to a wave of intense online speculation that has captured global attention. A sudden surge of posts and visuals linked to Ozzy Osbourne has sparked widespread discussion and emotional reactions. Across platforms, the story is moving fast, leaving many people surprised, curious, and searching for clarity. But beneath the noise, an important question remains. What is genuinely confirmed, and what may be misunderstanding amplified by the digital age? Stay with us as we carefully explore what is known, separate signal from speculation, and look at the bigger picture behind the headlines. This is a conversation worth hearing through to the end. Are you someone who's followed Ozzy Osbourne's journey over the years? If so, let your presence be felt in the comments with a simple 1. If your connection comes mainly through his timeless music and iconic sound, a 0 says it all. Take a moment to settle in and enjoy the story unfolding on your screen, and if you find value in what we share, subscribing is a small step that helps this community continue to grow and thrive together. The announcement of Ozzy's passing rippled quickly through news outlets and online communities around the world. Admirers who had followed him from the earliest Black Sabbath years through his solo evolution were deeply affected by the loss. Messages of remembrance began to appear almost instantly, shared by artists, collaborators, and listeners whose lives had been touched by his work. Among all the voices honoring his legacy, the earliest and most personal response came from those closest to him, his family, who spoke from a place of love and remembrance. Sharon, his partner through many seasons of life, offered a deeply personal reflection, describing him as more than a devoted husband. He was also a caring father and a cherished grandfather whose absence would be felt always. She had remained close throughout his long period of illness, walking beside him as his strength faded, yet holding on to faith and steadiness, even in the most difficult moments. In the closing moments of Ozzy's life, Sharon remained his closest source of calm, offering reassurance and presence as he sought rest amid the challenges brought on by illness. Their children, Kelly and Jack, were deeply affected by the loss. In a personal message, Jack reflected on his father's rare spirit, sharing that Ozzy was truly unlike anyone else and had met every hardship with determination and strength. And even though he is no longer with us, His influence continues through our lives and through music itself. Kelly and Jack both reflected on memories that revealed a side of Ozzy far removed from fame, one where he was simply a caring, attentive father within the warmth of family life. His departure marked a deeply personal loss for those closest to him, while also sending a wave of grief through the worldwide music community. In that shared sense of mourning, it became clear that Ozzy Osbourne's presence reached far beyond the stage, leaving a Bedavis Daches not Ray. Across decades of work, Ozzy shaped a musical legacy of lasting value. As a founding force behind Black Sabbath and a trailblazer of heavy metal, he helped create songs and sounds that continue to echo across generations. Tributes soon arrived from artists around the world who recognized his influence. Tony Iommi, a longtime friend and creative partner, shared a message describing Ozzy as an irreplaceable presence throughout their shared journey, noting that the loss extended far beyond personal grief and touched the entire music community. His words captured not only deep friendship, but also the scale of what was lost, a creative spirit whose impact on music cannot be measured. Together, Ozzy and Iommi forged a sound that helped define generations, and this goodbye felt like the quiet ending of a significant chapter in rock's story. Even younger listeners, many of whom never experienced Ozzy during his most explosive years, voiced deep respect and sadness. Social platforms filled with messages of gratitude and remembrance as people shared personal reflections, meaningful songs, and moments that had guided them through different stages of life. Through these collective memories, it became clear that Ozzy's influence extended far beyond any single era, continuing to shape and inspire long after the final note was played. The wave of respect and appreciation from across the rock community has been immense. Groups from later generations, including Metallica, Megadeth, and Slayer artists whose sound was shaped in part by Ozzy and Black Sabbath, shared messages honoring his influence. James Hetfield of Metallica reflected that Ozzy helped open doors not only through his music, but through his attitude toward life and adversity. These tributes made one thing clear: Ozzy's impact reached far beyond songwriting or performance, touching the very spirit of those who followed in his footsteps. Ozzy Osbourne was more than a performer. He became a reference point for an entire generation of emerging artists. Through a life marked by turbulence and transformation, he showed the power of staying authentic and remaining faithful to one's creative fire. To many younger musicians, Ozzy represented endurance and renewal, a reminder that setbacks do not define the end of the journey. The values he passed on were not taught through instruction, but demonstrated through experience, echoing in every lyric and story shaped by his sound. And when his journey came to a close, the music world responded with collective reverence, honoring a towering presence whose influence continues to live quietly and powerfully in the hearts of those who listen. Broadcast networks and radio stations around the world paused their regular programming to honor Ozzy with special tributes. His sound, spanning from the formative years of Black Sabbath to his solo legacy, continues to resonate as a timeless anthem. Commemorative gatherings emerged in cities such as London, Los Angeles, Tokyo, and his hometown of Birmingham, where fans came together in quiet unity. Flowers, candles, and cherished vinyl records became symbols of farewell and remembrance. Though his presence has faded from the physical world, Ozzy endures through every chord he left behind and within the shared memories carried by millions who found meaning in his music. Though Ozzy Osbourne's departure leaves a void that can never truly be filled, he chose to take his final bow as a genuine icon. Until the very end, he poured everything into the stage, performing with sincerity and remarkable resolve despite the weight of illness. The image of Ozzy seated, visibly fragile yet singing with unwavering intensity, has become a lasting emblem of his devotion and deep bond with music. He stood for far more than performance alone. He represented energy, perseverance, and the courage to rise above hardship. And even in farewell, his presence inspired a quiet reverence across the world, reminding everyone why his legacy will never fade. Ozzy's departure marks more than the end of an extraordinary life. It signals the quiet close of a defining era in rock music, one shaped by hardship, intensity, and a profound sense of fulfillment. What he leaves behind extends far beyond recordings and electrifying moments on stage. His true legacy lives in the inspiration he sparked across generations, encouraging others to keep moving forward even when the path is unforgiving. Ozzy showed that adversity does not erase purpose, and that passion can still carve meaning from the most difficult circumstances. Today, his name remains permanently woven into the fabric of global music, enduring, resonant, and alive in memory. A final salute to Ozzy Osbourne, a pioneer, a survivor, and a figure whose influence will continue to echo without end. The passing of Ozzy Osbourne represents more than the farewell of an iconic musician. It signals the end of a far-reaching chapter in music history that spanned generations. Even so, what he built will not fade with time. His influence continues through the songs he brought to life and the deep imprint he left on culture and the creative world. Beyond fame or genre, Ozzy stood as a symbol of independence, defiance, and the relentless will to keep moving forward. That spirit ensures his presence endures, inspiring artists and listeners long after the era itself has closed. Ozzy Osbourne stands not only as an icon of rock and metal, but as a trailblazer who reshaped the boundaries of modern music. From the formative years with Black Sabbath, he played a crucial role in shaping what would become heavy metal, a style marked by intensity, emotional weight, and uncompromising sound. Their work went beyond heavy guitar tones. It captured a spirit of defiance and a longing for freedom in the face of restrictive conventions. In this way, Black Sabbath became more than a musical group. They evolved into a cultural force. The echoes of their influence continue to travel through time, inspiring new generations and keeping their music vividly alive even today. Songs such as Iron Man, Paranoid, War Pigs, and Fairies Wear Boots go far beyond simple rock anthems. They stand as expressive reflections of their era. Through layered imagery and emotional intensity, the lyrics echo concerns about conflict, belief, pressure, and the inner struggles experienced by Ozzy and many of his contemporaries. This sense of honesty and depth is what allows the music to endure. Audiences don't merely listen. They connect with the feeling and meaning carried in each passage. That enduring emotional resonance is why Ozzy's work continues to move and influence listeners across the world, long after it was first created. Beyond his music, Ozzy evolved into a defining figure of popular culture through a performance style that was impossible to forget. One notorious onstage moment later became a powerful symbol of unrestrained rebellion and creative boldness. He was equally recognized for his intense connection with the audience, his untamed energy, and his complete freedom of self-expression. This unmistakable approach set him apart from everyone else and secured his status as a singular presence in rock history. Ozzy reshaped the image of what a rock artist could be: genuinely authentic, unapologetically individual, and willing to cross boundaries in the pursuit of true expression. Ozzy Osbourne's influence reaches well beyond the world of music, leaving a lasting imprint on global popular culture. Through his honesty and fearless individuality, he inspired countless people to embrace who they truly are. Each time he appeared on stage, he challenged not only his own limits but also the expectations of the world around him. What endures is a powerful message about freedom, perseverance, and the value of remaining authentic in the face of pressure. For this reason, Ozzy Osbourne's legacy lives on not just as a rock icon, but as a cultural figure whose spirit continues to resonate across generations. Beyond the moments that once shocked audiences, Ozzy also became known for a rare openness about his own life. His hardships, inner battles, strained relationships, and long-term health challenges were never hidden, turning his journey into a visible example of vulnerability paired with endurance. This honesty made him a powerful symbol of resilience and staying true to oneself. At the heart of his story was a deep devotion to both family and music. Even as his strength faded in later years, that devotion never diminished, continuing to shape his words, actions, and the legacy he left behind. He treasured the moments spent with Sharon, his children, and his grandchildren, often sharing his hope to remain part of the meaningful milestones ahead. In messages later revealed, his closing reflections spoke not only about creativity, but also about a profound sense of care and responsibility toward his family. He encouraged his children to embrace life with joy and to hold firmly to their aspirations, echoing the way he had chosen to live. For Ozzy, music was never a simple interest or pursuit. It was woven into the fabric of his existence, shaping how he felt, expressed, and connected with the world around him. He was more than a songwriter or a voice on stage. He infused every note and line with genuine feeling. To Ozzy, music was never a job or a routine. It was a living force, a flame that continued to burn within him to his final days. Even as his physical strength faded, his last appearances became quiet affirmations of that devotion. Those closest to him, along with listeners around the world, recognized what he left behind: a powerful artistic legacy, shaped by emotion and honesty, destined to endure and inspire long after his final song was sung. Ozzy Osbourne's influence extends well past the songs he created. It lives in the trail he opened for those who came after him. From the powerful emergence of Black Sabbath to the bold identity of his solo work, he helped define what excellence meant for generations of rock and heavy metal artists. Through his journey, he demonstrated that originality, bravery, and sincerity in art are what truly challenge limits and reshape genres. Ozzy stands not only as a legendary figure, but as a lasting source of motivation for musicians and listeners around the world. Ozzy Osbourne's impact reaches far beyond the songs he left behind. It lives in the road he opened for new generations of artists. From the powerful emergence of Black Sabbath to the bold evolution of his solo work, he helped shape the benchmark for rock and heavy metal musicians worldwide. Through his journey, he proved that imagination, bravery, and creative sincerity are the forces that truly break limits. Ozzy remains not just an icon, but a constant wellspring of inspiration for music lovers everywhere. Ozzy also broke new ground by connecting rock music with television in a way few had done before. Through the Osbournes, audiences were invited into a side of his life rarely seen, one that revealed him not only as a fearless performer, but as a devoted husband, a caring father, and an unexpectedly humorous presence in ordinary moments. This openness allowed him to reach a new, younger audience while reshaping how the public perceived rock musicians. In doing so, the show refreshed his image and demonstrated that a rock artist could be multifaceted, human, and relatable within an ever-changing entertainment landscape. In the end, Ozzy Osbourne's musical influence is destined to endure. The songs, albums, and powerful moments he delivered on stage are more than echoes of a celebrated era. They form a creative foundation upon which future sounds continue to rise. While his physical presence has faded, his music remains alive, traveling through time to inspire new artists, devoted listeners, and anyone who discovers within his work a feeling of freedom and inner strength. Through everything he shared, Ozzy left behind a quiet lesson for the next generation. No matter how demanding life becomes, or how many obstacles appear along the way, staying true to yourself and your passion will always lead you forward. Ozzy Osbourne lived his life as an icon, and his spirit will continue to resonate in the hearts of music lovers and all who found meaning in his work. Thank you for spending this time with us. The closing chapter of Ozzy Osbourne's journey will remain etched in the memories of those who admired him. From the strength he showed in his later years to the unwavering devotion of his family and friends, his story reminds us that even in life's most difficult moments, love and music remain the most powerful forces that carry us forward. And that's all the updates we have for now about Ozzy Osbourne, the rock legend whose story has the whole world concerned. No matter what the truth may be, we all hope for his health and strength to overcome every challenge. If you're a fan of Ozzy or simply interested in this topic, don't forget to drop a comment below, hit like, share this video, and subscribe so you won't miss the next big update. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Today, we're not here to talk about rumors or scandals. Instead, we're taking a heartfelt look at 17 personal stories from some of the world's most iconic actresses, like Meryl Streep, Elizabeth Taylor, and Cate Blanchett, and the sons who grew up beside them. Will the artistic talent running through their families shape these young men into the next generation of creative brilliance, or will the weight of their mother's fame make it hard for them to find their own place in the world? From choosing a quiet, private life to taking bold, pride-filled steps of rebellion, the truth may surprise you. But before we dive into these behind-the-scenes stories of Hollywood's most fascinating families, take a moment to hit subscribe, like the video, and drop a comment below telling us which mother-daughter duo you're most curious about. Your support is what keeps this channel moving forward. Now, let's jump right in. If there's anyone who seems born with the genetic lottery of the arts, it's Moses Martin. He sits at the brightest crossroads of pop culture. His mother, Gwyneth Paltrow, is an Oscar-winning actress and the powerhouse behind the Goop lifestyle brand, while his father, Chris Martin, is the lead singer of Coldplay, the man behind songs that fill stadiums worldwide. But what makes Moses remarkable isn't just his star-studded lineage, it's the way he's been raised to protect the honesty and purity of his own artistic spirit. Even after their conscious uncoupling, Gwyneth and Chris have stayed completely aligned when it comes to building an invisible shield around their son. Moses grew up treating music like a natural part of life, something to breathe in, not something to use for fame or profit. Whenever he steps on stage, guitar in hand, singing alongside his father in front of thousands, he never looks like a child star trying to impress anyone. What you see instead is innocence, genuine passion, and a charming touch of shyness. Moses' style feels like the perfect blend of two worlds. He carries the wistfulness, romance, and signature falsetto of Chris Martin, yet he also reflects Gwyneth's confidence, sharp intuition, and polished sense of aesthetics. He's not rushing to drop a debut album or jump into loud reality shows. Instead, he's taking his time enjoying the rare luxury of slowly shaping himself as he figures out who he truly wants to become. With the mindset of a sharp businesswoman, Gwyneth has taught her son the importance of branding and independence. Let your talent mature before you harvest its rewards. The sight of Moses calmly playing guitar on stage while Gwyneth watches proudly from the sidelines is a beautiful picture of a modern family, one where a marriage may come to an end, but the respect, teamwork, and shared commitment to raising a kind, grounded young artist never fade. Next, we move on to the queen of actresses herself, Meryl Streep. If Hollywood had an official measurement for talent, she would be the benchmark. When your mother holds the record for Oscar nominations and can disappear into any character with almost haunting precision, the pressure you feel isn't just about fame, it's about living up to an expectation of flawless perfection. Yet Meryl Streep has created a family environment that looks nothing like the typical Hollywood world. Alongside her husband, sculptor Don Gummer, she chose a quiet, grounded life far from Los Angeles's flashy, surface-level parties to raise their children in a genuinely artistic environment. Henry Wolf-Gummer is the result of that thoughtful upbringing. He didn't grow up under the glare of paparazzi lights, but instead in a home filled with sculptures, books, and music. Henry made a bold choice. He never tried to become a male version of Meryl Streep. Even though he stepped into acting from time to time, his real passion has always been music, and not the loud, commercial, chart-driven kind. Henry's world is indie folk, built on gentle acoustic sounds that feel intimate and deeply introspective. Through songs like Stop the Train and his album Linda Vista, he shows the world an artist with a sensitive, thoughtful, and quietly powerful soul. If Meryl expresses herself through her face and masterful body language, Henry performs through his voice and lyrics. He shares everyday stories with an honest, understated simplicity. Henry's career stands as a living reflection of Meryl's parenting philosophy. Create art for the sake of art itself, not for the applause. He's chosen a path that is slow, steady, and full of quiet dignity, steering clear of any unfair comparisons to his mother. He's like a gentle, grounding, low note, soft and serene, harmonizing beautifully alongside the bright, soaring notes of his legendary mother. If there's any family that truly deserves to be called Hollywood royalty, it's the Fondas. From the legendary Henry Fonda with his unwavering presence, to Jane Fonda, an icon of rebellion, brilliance, and 2 Academy Awards, their legacy is unmatched. Growing up in a family like this, Troy Garrity didn't just inherit artistic talent, he also carried the weight of an enormous legacy. The shadow cast by both his mother and grandfather is so immense that it could easily overwhelm any young artist. But Jane Fonda, the same woman who once clashed head-on with the government during her fiery years of political activism, did something extraordinary for her son. She didn't raise Troy in luxury or turn him into a pampered Hollywood prince. Instead, she shaped him like a fighter. Troy spent his childhood in social action summer camps, on protest marches, and in an environment built on strict discipline, where a person's value was defined by what they contributed, not how famous they were. Troy's boldest move was turning down the powerful Fonda surname and taking the last name Garrity, his grandmother's. It was a proud declaration of independence, his way of saying he wanted to succeed or fail on his own terms, not by riding on the family's VIP pass. And Troy proved he meant it. His breakthrough, deeply moving performance in Soldier's Girl earned him a prestigious Golden Globe nomination, a clear testament that his talent is real, built through hard work and determination, not handed to him by the system. Troy inherited his mother's determination and deep sense of empathy. He turned down shallow, heartthrob roles and chose characters with grit and complexity instead. Jane Fonda taught him that fame should be a tool for serving others, not feeding the ego. Today, with a solid career and a grounded personal life, Troy Garrity stands as one of his mother's greatest sources of pride. He carries on the Fonda family's artistic and humanitarian legacy quietly but powerfully, keeping the flame alive without relying on the glow of past fame. If there's any family that truly represents joy and togetherness in Hollywood, it's Goldie Hawn's. With her signature radiant smile and an Oscar dating back to 1970, Goldie has long been a symbol of optimism, but her life hasn't been free of hardship, especially her difficult breakup with Bill Hudson. Growing up in the midst of that emotional turmoil, Oliver Hudson faced his share of challenges, but he was fortunate to have Kurt Russell as an incredible stepfather to guide him through it. Goldie and Kurt have built a true family tribe rooted in humor, compassion, and emotional openness. Oliver didn't just inherit his mother's sharp wit, he also carries her resilience. His work, from Rules of Engagement to Nashville, shows an actor who is charismatic, easygoing, and effortlessly engaging. But what has made audiences especially love Oliver in recent years is his raw honesty on the Sibling Revelry podcast. which he co-hosts with his sister, Kate Hudson. He isn't afraid to open up about old wounds, pressure, and the unseen challenges of growing up as the child of a famous parent. Goldie Hawn taught him that mental well-being matters far more than fame. Oliver isn't chasing the race to become an A-list superstar. He chooses roles that let him maintain balance and stay present as a father and a husband. And that, more than anything, is the greatest success Goldie Hawn has helped him build. Reese Witherspoon is more than an actress, she's a true cultural force. From the lovable Elle Woods in Legally Blonde to her Oscar-winning role in Walk the Line, and later her rise as a media powerhouse with the Hello Sunshine empire, Reese has shaped the image of the modern woman, intelligent, sharp, and endlessly ambitious. Yet behind the multi-million-dollar deals and the iconic performances, the role she treasures most is that of a traditional Southern mom, firm, but loving, always working to keep her children grounded in a rare sense of normal, despite the non-stop noise of Hollywood. Deacon Philippi, born from the golden pairing of Reese and actor Ryan Phillippe, truly inherited the best of both worlds. Ryan's rugged charm and soulful eyes, along with Reese's bright, welcoming smile. But what really sets Deacon apart isn't his looks, it's the calm confidence he shows at such a young age. Raised in a home that valued education and privacy, he never got pulled into the typical rich kid party scene. And instead of jumping into acting to ride his family's fame, Deacon chose his own path. He found his voice in the recording studio, shaping a musical identity that feels completely his own. When Deacon released his debut single, Long Run, in 2020, both the public and critics were genuinely surprised. It wasn't some shallow project from a rich kid trying to show off. It was a well-crafted track with clean production and a catchy melody that revealed the mindset of a true emerging producer. Reese had taught her son an important lesson. Fame can open doors, but only hard work and real skill will keep you in the room. Reese's influence on Deacon comes through in the firm discipline tucked behind her warm, friendly demeanor. Even when Deacon decided to explore acting in Netflix's Never Have I Ever, he never asked for shortcuts. He didn't push for a leading role. He went through auditions, took smaller parts, and worked just as hard as any other young actor trying to prove themselves. It's the same way Reese built her own career, and it's the greatest legacy she's passed on to her son. Hard work, humility, and a genuine respect for the craft. In the history of Hollywood, few women have pushed back against the rules of fame as fiercely as Susan Sarandon. She's not only a screen icon with those unforgettable, expressive eyes, she's also a cultural fire starter. From Thelma and Louise to Dead Man Walking, Susan has consistently chosen daring roles that challenge morality, society, and the audience's conscience. She's an activist who refuses to stay quiet, and she brought that same rebellious, uncompromising spirit into the way she raised her children. Jack Henry Robbins, the child of Susan Sarandon's legendary partnership with actor-director Tim Robbins, didn't grow up in a fairy tale. Instead, his childhood was shaped by fiery political debates at the dinner table, human rights rallies, and the intense energy of independent film sets that challenged the status quo. In that intellectual furnace, Jack's evolution into an artist with a truly unconventional mindset wasn't an accident, it was almost inevitable. Jack has turned away from the polished, rose-paved road of big commercial blockbusters. He doesn't make movies to chase billion-dollar box offices, he makes them to poke at the absurdities of modern life. His film VHS is a perfect example of that boldness. A satirical comedy shot entirely on old VHS tapes, filled with retro charm yet loaded with sharp commentary on consumer culture. Jack's style is a quirky fusion of nostalgic warmth and the cool, biting sarcasm of the present. He never leaned on his mother's legendary name to land easy projects. Instead, he picked up the camera himself and carved out a path that feels entirely his own. Susan's influence on Jack isn't about acting technique, it's about courage. She taught him the core truth every real artist must understand. Art should never compromise. It needs a voice, and it must be willing to push back against the status quo. While the world is often captivated by the dazzling success and media presence of the eldest sister, Gwyneth Paltrow, the story of their mother, Blythe Danner, and younger brother, Jake Paltrow, carries a completely different tone, quiet, thoughtful, and deeply intellectual. Blythe Danner isn't just an actress. She's a true symbol of the theatrical stage, a woman whose classic elegance and sharp intelligence come through in every performance. She represents a generation of artists who care far more about the quality of the craft than the number of followers they have. Jake Paltrow inherited that refined artistic code completely, but he chose a very different vantage point behind the camera. Instead of chasing the spotlight as an on-screen star, Jake carved out his identity as a director and screenwriter with a distinctly visual, almost philosophical approach to storytelling. His film, Young Ones, stands as the strongest proof of that bold direction, a striking blend of science fiction and Western themes, filled with unusual ideas that push against every predictable commercial formula. The greatest legacy Blythe passed on to her son isn't how to shine on a red carpet, but a sacred love for the craft itself. She taught him that filmmaking isn't a glamorous hobby, it's a meticulous artistic process that demands the patience of a jeweler and the sharp eye of a writer. Jake rarely steps into the spotlight or makes loud media appearances. Instead, he lets his work speak entirely on its own. The collaborations between this mother and son on independent projects aren't just expressions of family connection. They're thoughtful conversations between two generations of true artists. Together, they prove that in Hollywood's loud, fast-moving world, there are still people willing to be the silent architects, fully devoted to protecting the purity and dignity of the art itself. Julianne Moore is not just a film star. She is a master of unspoken emotions, a woman capable of conveying shattering pain or overwhelming joy with nothing more than a single gaze or a carefully measured silence. Together with her husband, director Bart Freundlich, they have cultivated their family into a genuine fortress of intellect, creativity, and grounded values in the heart of New York, standing apart from, and often above, the usual vanity and noise that define so much of Hollywood. Caleb Freundlich, their son, grew up on independent film sets, places where budgets may be tight, but the passion for art burns with uncompromising intensity. In that environment, Caleb made a deliberate and remarkably smart career choice. He chose not to stand in front of the camera, where he would inevitably be compared to the towering legacy of his mother. Instead, he stepped into the role of the one who quietly shapes the audience's emotions from the shadows, a film composer. This is a move deeply rooted in both strategy and artistry. If Julianne is the face of the film, then Caleb becomes its very soul. Music is the realm where emotions rise and tremble without the need for dialogue, a quiet current that steers the audience's inner world, uncannily echoing his mother's celebrated style of introspective performance. Julianne's influence on Caleb isn't found in acting technique, but in the profound discipline of pure craftsmanship. She is known in the industry for approaching her roles with the precision of a scientist, researching and preparing with almost obsessive rigor. Caleb absorbed that meticulousness entirely, channeling it into every note he writes and every arrangement he builds. And when he crafts the score for a film directed by his father and starring his mother, it becomes far more than a family collaboration. It transforms into a complete artistic circle, where trust, instinct, and deep mutual understanding converge to create work that resonates with emotion and with genuine respect for one another. If you believe that the artistic connection within a brilliantly talented family has the remarkable power to create truly timeless masterpieces, then drop a 1-inch the comments below. If you see it differently or have another perspective, feel free to leave a 0. Enjoy the video, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. Your interaction, feedback, and enthusiasm are the driving force that motivates us to continue bringing you even more inspiring, in-depth stories from the ever-fascinating world of art. In a Hollywood world where broken marriages are so often turned into media fodder, Jennifer Garner stands out not only as a movie star, but as a symbol of resilience and compassion. Amid the whirlwind surrounding the turbulent personal life of her ex-husband, actor Ben Affleck, Jennifer quietly transformed herself into a gentle yet unbreakable steel shield, standing firm through every storm to safeguard the peace, stability, and emotional well-being of her children, especially her youngest son, Samuel Garner Affleck. Samuel, the child born to 2 A-list superstars, has experienced one of the strangest childhoods in Hollywood, a genuinely ordinary one. You won't find Samuel dressed in lavish designer outfits or attending extravagant birthday parties blasted across Instagram. Instead, the most familiar image the public sees is Jennifer barefaced, casually dressed, holding Samuel's hand as they walk to school, attend church together every Sunday, or cheer with heartfelt excitement at local baseball games. Samuel grew up like any typical American boy, loving superheroes, obsessed with sports, and often returning home covered in mud after playtime. But giving him that normalcy was something Jennifer Garner had to fight for. She became one of the Hollywood mothers who pushed to change California's laws to protect children from aggressive paparazzi. Through both her activism and her everyday example, Jennifer taught Samuel that respect doesn't come from fame or wealth, but from kindness, empathy, and how one treats others. Watching Samuel tightly hold his mother's hand with absolute trust, or seeing the bright, carefree smile on his face as he walks beside his father Ben, we witness the quiet yet immense power of maternal love. Jennifer Garner has shown that even in a Hollywood overflowing with scandals and temptations, a mother through love, discipline, and unwavering commitment can build a peaceful home, a sanctuary where children are free to be innocent, to stumble, to grow, and most importantly, to simply be